All right, welcome to the Station Square podcast. This is Robert. Hope everybody had a relatively good 4th of July and, they were able to spend time with families and do all that stuff and continuing to stay cool in the summer because, man, we're just now into the summertime and you know what this means. We gotta have to have waste our electricity on all these air conditioning and you know what I mean. But
Hmm.
today, yeah, we have a very special guest in the corner. This is somebody that I actually have been wanting on my show for a while or so, but I'm just so glad that we're finally getting to do this today. So this is Rob.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this with me today. I'm already messing up, so how are you doing?
No, I'm good, man. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, many times. So I guess to really start this off, like, how would
Yeah.
you say that your 2025 is going so far? Just anything that you want to discuss? Like anything that you want to, say was like, kind of like a highlight for you so far? Just talk about
Yeah.
what's been keeping you excited and share about some of the stuff that you've been kind of looking as of late.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, it's been good actually. 2025 has actually been pretty awesome. My career is kind of, I feel like every actor's career kind of shifts every now and again, where you get really hot in a specific genre and then for some reason that genre kind of takes off for you. So for me, it's been audiobooks actually for the last like year. Last year it kind of started a little bit and then I started kind of ramping up in them and then it seems like a lot of producers want me recording their stuff. So now I'm very busy doing audiobooks. I've literally been recording uh Sunday to Sunday, basically 7 days a week since the beginning of January. So I've and on top of my usual auditions and other sessions that I do for like commercials and any animation work that I might be doing. So it's kind of all happening at the same time. So it's been cool. It's been actually really rewarding and it's nice to be able to jump into so many different kinds of worlds and basically world build to some capacity, which is pretty dope.
Oh yeah. Because I know with me personally, I've just been kind of working on my own stuff, like original projects, and
Mm.
I've kind of talked about some of the big. I think it was like two big ones that I'm kind of working on right now. But since I think most of my viewers are probably sick of me talking about them at this point, I'm just gonna say, um, just look through my playlists and you'll probably see what I'm talking about. But yeah,
Mm.
outside of that, it's just, doing a new commercial demo and
Nice.
yeah, so just gotta up my game, just gotta, you know, because as an actor, you just need to stay on top of stuff and you gotta, update
Yeah.
and, you know, yeah, just make sure that your tool anything with your tool set and just your capabilities, just want to make sure that they're up to snuff with with today's market, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, that's super important is keeping things like your demos up to date. Especially if you don't already have like a steady stream of clients and you're still kind of like young in the career or just in those early phases of, it's always good making sure that that kind of the resources that you use to be able to promote yourself are always up to date so that people know what it is that you're up to and what you're capable of because presumably you're still learning and you're still teaching yourself new things that you can do and stretching your range. You want to keep showcasing all those skills, and keep everybody up to date so when they want to hire you they know what you can and what you can do ideally.
Exactly. It's
Mm.
what I always say to people is like, I mean, look, there's no there's nothing. I mean, like, look, we were in a strike, and yeah,
Yeah,
that lasted a pretty long time.
yeah, it
So
was a
you
while.
just never know what the industry is where we're gonna be in like a
Yeah.
month or a year,
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. And
a
and
day
that strike
even.
yeah, and that
Yeah,
strike really hurt a lot of actors who predominantly focus on the video game side of things. That really hurt a lot of the union members that unfortunately weren't able to work. And I understand that. It also highlights the importance of being diverse in your skill set so that in the event a strike like that happens, it doesn't drastically tank your business as well. Like you want to make sure that your income doesn't
exactly.
end up basically evaporating um over something that you have a very small voice in. You know what I mean? So yeah, I know that was tough for a lot of people, and and I had a lot of people, thankfully, who were concerned for me. They were, especially that aren't actors. They were like, "Man, is this strike affecting you?" And I was like, I mean, like, like I know it's around, like I know it's happening, but has it affected my business in the smallest of ways? Like it barely moved the needle in terms of the work that I do. So I was very fortunate in in that regard.
Yeah. And I know with so many actors that were affected by the strike, I mean, first it really all started with like the WGA, that whole
Right.
Hollywood strike that happened 2 years ago, and now
Mm,
it was for video games last year.
yeah.
And I'm just kind of glad that it kind of reached some sort of like, okay, so I know it's suspended, but we just don't know like what the outcome is going to be by now. But I'm just praying that it'll be like we'll reach an agreement and there won't be any other strikes happening in the near future. Fingers
Hopefully,
crossed, man.
fingers and toes
Yeah,
crossed.
yeah, for
Fingers and
sure.
toes crossed on that one. Yeah, because
But
you never
yeah,
really know. But I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
all we really can do is just hope for the best and know that, SAG has the actors' interests in mind, and they can reach some kind of agreement with the big companies, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I was just saying all that to say that, look, this can be pretty it's a pretty the industry can be a pretty unpredictable beast. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
just look at like, what's been happening over like since because I know that 2020 was also kind of like the big thing too with like COVID and how
Yeah.
everything just kind of all went remote.
Hmm.
So, and then everything after that is I mean, it kind of really speaks for itself, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was when COVID happened, I had been about 4, maybe 5 years into voice acting, so I had already been at it for a little bit, and I was kind of like riding that semi hybrid voice actor life where I was going in person to auditions and in person to sessions, but I was already kind of doing auditions remotely, so I was also recording stuff from home, so I was kind of doing both. So I kind of see myself as like I was in that in that flux of the voiceover industry. I was kind of like right in the middle of it. And when the pandemic happened, it was catastrophic for a lot of voice actors who solely went in to audition and work because they never had to record from home. That was unnecessary for them. All they did was go in. That was their job, was to go into the city, they would do their sessions, and then they would go home. So it was a very interesting time because then it became a mad scramble because the work kept moving, but to get the work done, there was a very hard shift to that remote that where those actors who strictly went in to do the work, they kind of got crippled because now they had to learn new technology. They had to learn what it is that they needed to treat their homes so that they can record from home. They had to literally learn what I already knew for the last 4 or 5 years. They had to learn it overnight. While people like me, who had already been well versed and knew what to do, we kind of to a capacity, we picked up the slack. And a lot of us ended up becoming incredibly successful during the pandemic because of that, because we were able to fill in these holes that were needed for talent very quickly because we were already prepared. We had booths, we had the equipment, and it was literally just giving us the chance. So, a big part of that also was that obviously casting took chances on us. And we were able to deliver. And, a lot of us ended up building our careers in that time. But, it's double-edged sword. While we got successful, unfortunately, a lot of people that were doing very well also kind of floundered a little bit. Obviously, a lot of people recovered here and there. So, now it's good. There's a sort of kind of balance that happened after a while. But you kind of get a little bit of survivor's guilt at that point because while you see that your business is flourishing, you're seeing a lot of people struggling. So it was a very interesting, like 2 years, I would say, like from 2020 to 2023. It was rough. It was hard to talk about how well you're doing when you know so many people are kind of still grasping at understanding the big shift of what voiceover is. And it's something that's not the first time. I mean, a lot of veteran voiceover actors, they say that, these big shifts in the industry happen more regularly than we think.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody, it's what I'm trying to say is everybody can have like a different perspective of how they've survived or just how they're navigating through it because part of the it is a struggle, but part of the I guess process is navigating through the really difficult moments, like for instance with the strike and everything, and just a couple of other factors like AI and so on and so forth. Is how we have to navigate and also just figure out a way to combat all these issues that are still very prevalent in the industry. I mean, it is
Mhm.
kind of like I know everybody is kind of sick to death just talking about AI. Like, let's just be real, but it's something that is very much it's something that is a very real threat, and I know that even when discussing AI, I know that well, yes, there you could argue that it has been used in a positive way, but for the most part, it's literally just, hey, um, we don't really want our voices to be cloned or just saying a lot of this inappropriate stuff. And
Right.
especially if they're using AI voices of those that have been, deceased. So, and that's
Hmm.
another big problem with that as well, because yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I know we kind of know about the James Earl Jones thing, but
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
that's just an example of what I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
it's just kind of what all this to say TLDR, just got to be informed and we just got to stay up to date. Just simple as that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And truth be told, I mean, as long as we show, what we can do and how good we are at it, I mean, that's really going to speak for itself. Don't get me wrong, AI is getting impressive and it's only going to keep getting better as technology improves. Like that's a certainty. That's not a I wouldn't say that'd be an offhand prediction. I'd say that's going to be the case. But the truth be told, I mean, consumers of entertainment, there are some, I would say, lazy consumers who wouldn't mind just getting fed AI. But truth be told, anybody who appreciates the things that we work in, they actually like the human touch. So I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm completely worried about AI, quote unquote, taking our jobs. Will they remove some jobs? Yeah, absolutely. But I think the jobs that they would remove aren't the ones that we're necessarily looking and pining to get.
Exactly. And like I know there's plenty of discussions that have been talked about when it comes to AI, with the striking and why, regulations, we're just working towards better, just better working conditions and all that stuff. So I think that's something that honestly I probably am not like the best resource when it comes to this stuff. I mean, you'd
Mhm.
probably just go to like Nava or ask like, any of the SAG members that are a part of the committee for,
Mhm.
just more information and, just they'll be able to provide a lot more details about it than I could. Because like right now, I'm just only kind of barely scratching the surface with this stuff. And
Right.
it is a very, really complicated topic to discuss. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I just wanted to
Yeah.
bring that up because like, there's no telling what could happen with this business. There's no
Yeah, I
telling.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, nobody can really predict what's going to happen next. I mean, we just have to we have to keep ourselves relevant. That's really all we can do. I'm not big I'm not big on freaking out per se. I'm not a big fear mongerer. I just all I know that I can do is do what I can control. And what I can control is that I can make myself a better talent, make myself available and show people why I am so good at what it is that I do. That is what is in my control. And I'm not going to waste my time having anxiety over something that I have no control over. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's something that I have to tell myself when it comes to things that are just outside of my control, like, what's happening in the industry, what's happening across the globe. All of that stuff
Yeah.
is out of my control. But
Yeah, there's really,
yeah,
there isn't much we can do, and we
exactly.
can drive ourselves crazy, predicting what if
Yeah.
and what may or what can or what is or what's not. I mean, we can do that with anything, you know what I mean? But it's all we really can do is affect what's in our control, and that's what we should be focusing on.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of got a couple of questions that I wanted to, run by
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, sure thing.
So yeah, outside of, just everything that you've kind of been working on as of late, what would you say was something that you're really the most kind of like, wow, I can't believe I did this. Just something that you're really the most proud of so far on your
Oh,
journey.
see, those would be two different questions. So, what I'm most proud of and what and a wow project, those are two different things. So, in terms of what I'm proud of, I'd say lately the thing that I'm most proud of is an audiobook series actually that I've been voicing now for the last 2 years, maybe 3 years. Book eight, actually, funny enough, just dropped today. And I'm 8 books deep in the series. It's called the series is called Victor of Tucson, and every book has its own title. But Sojourner, which is book eight, came out today, and it is the longest series that I've actually been tied to, longest running project that I've been working on, and it's been awesome. It's by this author called Plum Parrot. That is their pseudonym. And they when I first got this audiobook, it was I think slated as a 3 book series that turned into a 5 book series. And I ended up getting asked what my timeline looked like for books 8, 9, and 10. And then just recently they told me that there's a book 11 like in the pipeline. So I mean, this is a very, very long series. And it's so cool because since it's in the genre of lit RPG. So lit RPG, for anybody that doesn't know, is kind of like it's like imagine, okay, so Dungeons and Dragons, right? So, the tabletop game. So imagine that, except that I am the dungeon master and the characters and the world builder, basically. That's what these books are like. So it's like listening to me play Dungeons and Dragons, but I do everything. I do all the voices, all the characters, the narration, the world building. So that's basically what lit RPG is. And yeah. So we're 8 books in right now. Book 8 just dropped today. And I'm super proud of that series because I've voiced over 200 characters in that series alone. Um, Along with the main character Victor. And yeah, it's just really cool. Super, super cool series. So that's what I'm most proud of, I would say, just because I've been able to keep all these voices growing over the 8 books. So for me, it's an impressive feat. As for WoW, was a very spicy a spicy romance book that I did. That one was probably the most wow because I never did any spicy audiobooks before. So I did do one.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's called Beard on Tap by this author called Willow Sanders. And yeah, that was interesting. I would say it was interesting. Very different from what I'm used to narrating. So that I would say that was probably the most wow. It was very much out of I would say like somewhat my I don't know, I guess not my comfort zone. Like I wasn't uncomfortable, but it was kind of like, ooh, whoa, I'm saying these things. This is all
Hey,
right. This
wow.
is interesting.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that was probably the most interesting job that I've done recently. But for any spicy lit romance fans, check out Beard on Tap. You might like it.
Yeah. Okay, so going to the audiobook, which congratulations on that. Like it
Thank you,
just came
thank
out
you.
today. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's kind of so perfect timing, that we're
yeah,
recording
yeah,
this right
really,
now. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And because you said you did like over 200 characters, you said?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, so far I've
Wow.
voiced in and around 200 characters. Now, not all of them are recurring, so it's not like I have
Yeah.
200 unique voices. I'd say there's probably like maybe 10 to 15 voices that are recurring across the 8 books. Um, but yeah, but overall, in terms of like characters that are introduced and whatnot, yeah, there's over like 200 characters introduced.
Yeah,
You
man.
know,
And I'm just like, so I remember, I don't know how y'all read do audiobooks, man, but like
there's a lot of
so
prep.
I know, I just really love acting and performing. What I don't love is the editing.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of it. So like before
Yeah.
I got into audiobooks, there was one big critique that I heard a lot, which is I feel like kind of like the danger of social media is that you get a lot of opinions, but and those opinions will end up framing your opinion on something, but you've never experienced it yourself, so you're kind of creating an opinion based on others' opinions and not actual you're you actually seeing what this is. And I think that's the danger of social media sometimes. And there was a big opinion about like how when you do audiobooks, how exhausting the editing is and mastering and getting all that everything together and making sure the noise levels and this and that and the other. So that's why I kind of stayed away from audiobooks because I was like, that's a lot of technical mumbo jumbo I really don't want to have to jump into. I'm an actor first and foremost. I just want to do the acting thing and let the engineers handle everything else. Like I don't want to handle that. So when I ended up getting my first audiobook offered about 4 years ago, they had asked me because they were looking for a Latino narrator. And at the time I had done one book, but I recorded it in person at the studio. So obviously they were handling all the engineering on their side. So that was easy. So I had done a book or two prior. But this one was going to be recording from home. So they asked me like, what's your per finished hour? Like, what is it that you expect? Like, how do you operate? You let us know, we'll make it work. I was like, okay. So I basically told them I'll do it, but I'm only gonna punch and roll, which basically means I record, and if I mess up, I just go take it back, and then I record from there, basically, and I'll keep the audio as clean as possible, but I'm not doing any editing. I'm not going to do any mastering. I'm not going to do any of that. And this is my per finished hour. And the publisher said, yeah, cool. Sounds good. And I was like, oh, okay. So then that's how I ended up doing, book number 3, basically. And every book that I've recorded, I have never done editing. I have never edited. I've never mastered. I've never done anything technical. All I ever do is punch and roll. And I tell uh any book publisher that I'm working with, I tell them that up front. I'm like, just so you know, I don't do any of that. That's not what I do. If you want to book me, I'll record, but I'm punching and rolling. It's all going to be raw. And not a single one has said no. Every single one has said, yeah, sure, sounds fine. We'll find an engineer, not a problem. I was like, okay, cool, dope. And we just kind of go from there. So if anybody's ever apprehensive about doing audiobooks because of the editing and the mastering, yeah, no, I've recorded many books at this point, dozens of books. I've never had to edit and master anything. The most that I do is
Yeah.
punch and roll, and that's very light editing. So that's the most I've ever done. So it is possible.
Yeah. I mean, like with me personally, like I think if you're like somebody that is kind of like very ADHD or something like that, it is like, okay, so I can do all of these characters and stuff like that. So when it comes to the technical stuff, it's like, okay, like I can be able to focus on that if I'm like really, really like kind of locked in because that's just pretty
Mm,
much how my brain is. Because I would
yeah.
just be really focused on because I just love creating characters and doing all of this
Mm,
stuff. And then most of the time, the process only takes about like if I were doing an audition, then it doesn't really take super long. Like I just have to kind of
yeah.
like, mistakes or just have you. That's why the punch roll or I don't know. I think it also kind of works for some people, like where you have to clap basically whenever you mess up, so it's
Oh
easier to
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
include
Sometimes
the yeah.
they'll do this like a dog click or so. You just kind of click in
Oh,
whenever you make a mistake so that you
oh,
see a
okay.
spike in the audio and then you could go back to it after the
Ah,
fact. Because
yeah,
some
yeah,
people they
yeah.
don't like stopping their flow. So they'll just kind of like, oh, I messed
Yeah,
up, click, and then like just kind of go into it. But that's dependent on every actor. I don't mind
exactly.
stopping and restarting, but some actors
Yeah.
like to kind of stay in their flow. So I get it. It's different
So,
for everybody.
yeah. Now for the 200 characters thing.
Mm,
Because there are like 10 or 15 that are like reoccurring. Is there
yeah.
anything that helps you remember, like, oh, who are these characters again? Like, if you remember, just with your
Yeah.
acting,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, yeah,
I don't
no,
want to
no, no.
say voices, but it's more
Yeah,
sort of.
for the for the main characters, I kind of have shortcuts in my head on how they sound like, just so it's easy to remember. And then for the other, like, I would say like the second tier characters outside of the mains, I have voice files saved for all of them. So after I've created what they sound like and I've done, a couple of chapters with them, I'll save maybe like a like 2 minute file of what they sound like so I could always kind of refer back to them. And then another trick that I do also is that if for any reason there's a character that I create that ends up dying, then I call that a recycled voice. That voice ends up getting recycled into a different character later on into the series, which has happened also a couple of times too. It's kind of like this character died in book two. I could revive that voice again in like book five because nobody's going to make that connection. It's been long enough that I can revive that voice. So there are a lot of recycled voices as well.
Sure
Intentions
thing.
are different. So obviously the delivery is going to be different, but the voice print will be the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about some of your work in anime, video games, so on and so forth,
Yeah.
because I know that the big one right now is Genshin Impact, where you
Yeah.
voice Mika, and then
Yeah.
also you were in some shows like Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yeah.
Pokemon, and quite a bit of stuff. So, getting to be in these in a lot of these games and shows
No,
that
yeah.
really mean so much to people, like, is it still kind of like one of those, oh my gosh, just somebody pinch me, like wake me up or something like that? Like it's kind of like a surreal thing that you're like, oh my God, I'm actually in this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was very interesting because like Pokemon was really cool. Getting to jump into that because that was one that I used to watch when I was a kid. When I
Yeah.
mean, I was like in high school when Pokemon was pretty hot. So that was pretty cool. It was like a very full circle thing. Same with Yu-Gi-Oh. I remember, when Yu-Gi-Oh was what was originally on, and hearing Dan
It
Green
was
and
on
all the
It's
OG voice
WB.
actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I remember watching that. So it was cool to be part of Yu-Gi-Oh. The first Yu-Gi-Oh project actually that I did was um, it was for I think it was for a specific game mode on Duel Links like years ago. And it wasn't even a character. I was actually, um, I was recording I guess like the how to play basically of the game, but in Spanish for the Spanish market.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was actually the first Yu-Gi-Oh thing that I ever worked on, and the way I ended up getting that was because in at the they used to I think they're still there, but they were at the Konami studios out in New York. I worked with a different studio that was next door to where they recorded Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was doing commercials for this studio. And they were kind of like, hey, do you do like cartoons and stuff? I was like, yeah, I'm like I could, it's not something I'm huge in, but it is something in my wheelhouse. They were like, cool, let's walk you over next door so you can meet some guys. I was like, oh, okay. So we literally walked down the hall to the next door and they were like, hey guys, this is Rob. He's Latino and he also does like stuff. He does great commercial stuff for us and whatever. I was like, oh, cool. Like, hey, what's going on? And I was just kind of like looking around and I saw um, I was seeing all the like the Yu-Gi-Oh like memorabilia and stuff on the walls, and I was like, wow, this is actually kind of dope. Like this is where they do it. And then while I was there, the door opens and Darren Dunstan walks in. Now at the time, I knew who he was because I was kind of like, oh shit, it's Pegasus just walked in. Like what the hell? So that's how I said him. But at the same time, you're like, you're a voice actor, you gotta keep it cool. So I was like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Like, I didn't want to like geek out. And then I ended up working with Darren pretty regularly. When we did Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, and I voiced a couple of characters for that one. And then actually before that though, I did Bronx Stone for Duel Links. I did that first, which was I was voice matching. for Bronk, because Bronk was originally voiced in I think that was that Zexel? I think that was Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexel that Bronk was in, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
I don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like this. It
Yeah,
was
I
like
don't
the
really.
one.
I know the OG Yu-Gi-Oh. I never
Yeah,
really paid much attention.
I think it was Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, and that one
Pretty sure,
was a
yeah.
voice match for Sean Schemmel because he originally voiced
Yeah,
Bronkstone in the
Sean.
cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he
Yeah, yeah,
voiced
yeah.
Bronk in the cartoon, so I voice matched him for Duel Links. Um, so I ended up doing that, and then I auditioned for a role in Sevens, and then I ended up booking that one, which was I forget the young dude's name, but I ended up doing that one. I ended up doing a couple of characters actually for that for Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, which was actually really cool. Um, but that was super fun, so different, and because it was also so long, like such a long series, it was also really cool to kind of keep coming back episodically and seeing these characters grow regularly. So that was a lot of fun, and it was cool to watch it like when it actually dropped, and I was like, oh, that's me. How
Probably
interesting is
something.
that?
Yeah, and you're a dad, so I know that's something that's like, oh my gosh, my dad is in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or just Pokemon, and yeah,
Well, you know
just
what's funny? Like as fans, that's how we would predict that it is. In reality, with my kids, not that they're not impressed, but it's like a given now. Like to them, it's not like, whoa, my dad's in a cartoon. It's kind of like, yeah, my dad's in a cartoon. It's very matter of fact. Like they're not wowed about it. They're like, that's just what dad does. He's just in cartoons sometimes. So, we'll be watching Netflix and they're watching Brett Barbershop and they're like, oh, dad, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, that was me. They're like, oh, cool. Like it's like, well, it's very normalized.
yeah. I think it was just doing an interview with somebody else. I'm probably gonna post it at some point later this month. But what I
Yeah.
asked them, like, being a parent, is like, oh, your kids probably must hear you all the time, and it's just like, yeah, it's just kind of normalized of like, oh, hey, is that
Yeah.
you? Yeah, and like, okay, go.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
they're
he's
very
in.
like immune to it. They're just kind of like, okay, like to
Yeah,
them it's just no, but I will say that they love using it as cool points
yeah,
with their
it's like,
friends.
okay, my dad, oh yeah, he's also in Spite, which is kind
Yeah.
of really cool. I did not even know until just now. So yeah, that's
uh
crazy.
yeah, so they like to use me for brownie points with their friends. So I'm like, hey, whatever. Whatever makes you cooler in their eyes, I'm with it.
Yep, whatever floats your boat, I guess.
There you
But
go.
yeah, yeah. I know there's plenty more that I want to discuss, but there's only so much that I can discuss in like 30 minutes. Plus, I don't want to make this go on for like an hour
Yeah,
because
no worries.
yeah. So I just want so much for taking the time and who make another episode that just talks more about some of your voice acting or just, the business and so many other
Yeah.
different questions. Like I'll probably just send over questions next time. So I'm not like just which it's not bad, but it just helps to for us to, pair stuff with questions to answers. The
Yeah, for
Q&A pretty
sure.
much. Yeah, but is there anything that you want to close
Yeah.
this out, like any last bit of advice or just plug in your socials, projects, all the good stuff? Self
Yeah.
promo time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of advice, for anybody who's, in the voice acting game and is aspiring or currently doing the thing or just absolutely killing it. Um Make sure that, you always keep your business at the forefront of your mind. You know what I mean? Don't let yourself get swept up into social media craziness, just because you have an opinion doesn't mean that it needs to be voiced. You know what I mean? You could keep your opinions to yourself. There's no need to be vocal about it. You never want to throw things out there that people can use against you at the end of the day. Any personal opinions that you have, keep it to yourself. Remember, your brand and your image is absolutely important when you're in the game that we're doing. And you want to make sure that people remember you as somebody who's respectful, as somebody who's chill, and that's easy to talk to. And you don't want anything used against you because you happen to have an opinion. Remember, not having an opinion is an option as well. as well. So I'd say that's probably the safest way to go. I like to keep no opinions on a lot of things, and not because it means that I'm neutral. It just means that I keep my personal opinions to myself because, again, they are personal. Just because I have one doesn't mean that it needs to be announced to the world. So that's my advice for any aspiring voice actors out there. As for my handles, you could find me at Rob with two B's Moreira. You could find me on X. I'm pretty quiet on Blue Sky, but I'm on there. You can find me on Facebook. I'm a little quiet on there too, and Instagram. But you'll probably see me the most on X and Instagram. Those are the two that I'm most active in, especially Instagram. And you can find me on TikTok as well. I post about once a week. I try not to do too much. I'm more of a producer of making videos on there than I am a consumer. So you'll see my videos every now and again where I just talk lightly about stuff. But yeah, so if you want to hop on and give me a follow, give me a shout, check it out. And for any graphic audio fans, if you happen to be an Iron Flame Fourth Wing fan, I'm the voice of Riddick. So if you happen to check that out and you're a fan, find me on TikTok and say what's up.
Yeah. All I can say is you could just find me on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm not really okay. The only times I'm really super active on like Facebook or Blue Sky is if I have like, voiceover stuff coming out or just if I'm doing updates on projects. That's pretty
Nice.
much
Yeah.
mostly business. I don't really do like, it's not that I don't use social media to like be social, I guess. It's just, for
Yeah,
most of us, we're just kind of, just jumping from one job to the next.
I hear that. I hear that.
Yeah, but I just want to thank you so much, Rob, for taking the time to chat with me once again.
Yeah,
And
sure thing.
I actually do have a quick little story to share when it comes to
Mm.
like, oh, okay, but it kind of it just hit me like when you were talking about, oh my gosh, it's Darren. But so recently I was at NostalgiaCon, like it was last month because they do it
Mm.
like I think they do like a US tour. So it happened here in Anaheim,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure some of the Yu-Gi-Oh actors were there as well. But
Oh,
I think
nice.
my kind of like, okay, let me be cool, stay calm. My little moment was meeting Tom Kenny and Rob Paulson at the same event.
Oh, I
So
mean,
if
yeah, those are
they need no
those are
introduction.
heavy hitters, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, and I also met like Charles Martinet, Jim Cummings, and a lot of
Oh
these other people
boy,
just
yeah. I mean,
this
these are like
year
the gods
alone.
of VO.
Dude, I'm like, I still cannot believe it, man. Like,
That's
I was
cool.
like, hi. In my mind, I was like, hi, Tom. Like SpongeBob, hi, Kevin. That
Yeah.
was me. Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Just seeing Rob. I got his autograph. Like his book is
that's
over there,
cool.
like the voice lessons. So I'll probably share it
Nice.
another time. But for
That's
now,
cool.
that's my quick little story. Thank you for
Awesome.
watching,
It's awesome.
and I'll see y'all whenever the next episode comes out. Until then, God bless. Stay safe. Stay cool. Please. Bye.